Welcome to the Leaders Who Care series. Would you just introduce yourself really quick and tell us where you are and why?
My name is Michael Capponi. I'm the president of Global Empowerment Mission, and we are in Maui at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs.
And we know why you're in Maui. Could you tell us, how do you get to location so fast, like now in Maui, and how do you feel right now?
I think we feel good. We've been effective. I feel that, on what we're doing. How you get here so fast? By making a life called no attachments, so that when something happens, you can just get on a plane and that's it. I was in, Sag Harbor for an event. I left right after the event as soon as I found out about this and came straight here. So we've been here since day 2. So we have a 4-prong approach basically to this, horrendous situation. So obviously the first one is stabilization. So we formed a partnership with the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and with Airbnb, collaborator with us. And we have a voucher system. So the Office of Hawaiian Affairs invites vetted people that have lost their homes, that have nowhere to go, to this particular office. And we've processed about 1,000 people so far, which is a big number already in the last, I think this is our 4th day. So you got to think about it's about 20% of the entire problem right now. And those are short-term stays. They get a voucher and they get to go out of a shelter or a tent or a friend's house sleeping on the couch. And they get to breathe and have their own little vacation rental. Still a Band-Aid. Then we have a different fund where we are working hard to make it grow. Real estate is in a shortage here, and it's very expensive because of its prime, location. So the fund theoretically grabs as much rental 1-year long-term properties as it can. And then we start moving over in order of importance people from the Airbnbs in 3 weeks or a month when that expires into here. We'll pay first, last, and security for you, or you'll take it after that. Hopefully by then in December or November, you'll be able to get back on your feet and work and pay your own rent, right? So that's basically step 2. And then step 3 is meeting with the communities and ensuring and making sure that people who didn't have insurance, who aren't going to have a means to rebuild their house, that we provide a solution for them, whether it be in the form of subsidized payments that we would make directly to their contractor of choice so they can choose exactly how they want to rebuild their homes and things like that. So that's really like the mechanism, and that's a lot of moving parts. As you know, in Ukraine, we've already repaired like 350 structures during a war with MiGs flying overhead. So we'll be able to do this. We're good at it because we don't cross lines. We don't have business interests. We beat up everybody who wants to make a dime of profit along the way. And we ask nicely for people to contribute what they can, whether it be $1 million in building materials, or whether it be to contribute labor, or whether it be, a big Hawaiian construction company that wants to build things for free. To help the community come back together. And that's really our model, right? Global Empowerment Mission. We're here to empower. We don't have a imported group of people that are going to come here and try to tell Hawaiians how to do things. They're going to ask us what they want, and we're going to try to fill gaps for them.
Yeah, I think that's a really unique feature of what you do, because so many times people go into other countries and tell people how to do things or where to do things or what to do, etc. And empowering people, especially where they're at right now, they need that empowerment. And when I asked you how you feel, it's obviously got to be horrendous to see what happened, but it's got to be a good feeling to give someone peace of mind, for at least for a few weeks, and then more and more, after that.
Yeah, well, we're extremely grateful to our donors, Jeffries, Airbnb, so many of them already, Bethany Frankel. you got to realize there was even a cot shortage, so people were in a shelter, sometimes two people sleeping on one cot with 100 people, bringing them, asking them questions and things. That alone will make you crazy. It's like you want to go crazy, go spend 2 weeks in one of those centers, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly why our role is to like break those things down. We're like, we're the next step after the shelter. There was a shelter in Poland called Expo. There was 20,000 people in it. We went in there and we relocated everybody from there. We offered them plane tickets to 50 different countries. We relocated like 38,000 people in the end. Right, this is in the beginning last year of the Ukraine crisis. So we're about reversing refugee crises, finding solutions, solving smart, difficult, problems in an effective, efficient way, right? With smart partnerships. It's a smart partnership model. It's not a, we got it, get out of here, typical bureaucratic model.
How do you determine how long to stay and support and maybe pivot, what you bring to them?
By assessing the realistic, big picture, right? Like we assume already that our involvement in the Ukraine crisis, Ukraine war now, is going to be a minimum of 10 years. We've already assumed that our minimum involvement here in Hawaii is going to be 3 years. I mean, it's going to take 6 months before the debris in the crime scene is even cleaned up, before they even have, a plot of land that you could start drawing on to rebuild what they want to rebuild, not what we want to rebuild. And then it's going to take, minimum 6 months to a year to permit that thing, and then another year to build it. That's just the residential portion. Forget about all the infrastructure. So, this is a long-term commitment. So we know immediately if we're going to, respond to all 3 phases. This is one of the ones where we will be in all 3 phases. We're not always in all 3 phases. Many times our organization just comes to the first phase. We give everybody a box. This will hold you up for 2 weeks later. And some of them, we may not think it's that urgent. And a lot of them, sometimes it's just a flood where the water comes up and they need new drywall in the first 2 feet of their house. Right. And those they're catastrophic for those particular people. But at a macro, this is catastrophic, right? This is like if you took, First Street in Miami Beach to the Delano and just lit it on fire across the whole island of Miami Beach. Like that's what it looks like. It's just an ash pan.
How do you handle the stories of that are going around there, that there's real estate people trying to buy land from people there?
Yeah, there always are. It's nothing new. That's this planet, there's real estate people like to make money, and they like to, buy things out when people are hurting, when there's recessions. I went through it myself. I had a, very expensive house in the 2000, what was it, 7 or 8 recession, and yeah, the mortgage went up because of the interest rates, and right. It was tough for me to do that, and I had to sell it at 35 cents on the dollar. I had 35% cheaper than it was worth. Some shark took advantage of it. He just sold my same house for $13 million recently.
Yeah,
so
that house in Fort Lauderdale.
It's nothing new. I don't think it's just a Hawaii thing. I think it's just there's real estate sharks everywhere. They're trying to make a buck.
There are.
That's what's wrong with this planet, right? There's people with money. Sometimes it's not enough, and it's more, rather than doing the opposite. And why don't we just fund a charity that can help them rebuild and utilize the money we've made to make the world better?
That's what's supposed to happen. And if they would realize, it would actually make them feel much better. However, I also don't like people who screw people along the whole way and then give it something to charity saying I'm the best one in the world either, after screwing people to get all that money. But yeah, it's unfortunate. How can regular people help, Jim?
Right now, we have a very distinct earmarked fund. So I think it's important to differentiate what we are. So first of all, we're We have 100% rating at Charity Navigator. They rate 200,000 charities. Only 29 have that. And in the disaster field, I think only us and World Central Kitchen has that rating, right? In the, in the category that we are. Second, we segregate our money. Most people don't. We don't have a centralized pot. The reason the money never makes it to the disaster is nothing prevents a large bureaucratic agency from running commercials on TV, help Maui. It all goes in their general operating account, and they can pay their overhead in 50 states and 500 chapters that they have with that money. They're not forced to do it, right? If you donate to our Global Empowerment Mission Maui Fire Fund, the only thing we can do is take 5% of those funds and pay our overhead. Everything else is earmarked 100%, either for rebuild, for cash cards, or for subsidized relocations like we're doing, right? So I think that's a very important thing to understand, because a lot of money is mingled in this space, and that's why people are never helped. I'm not going to mention any names of, big bureaucratic orgs. I'm sure you could be, but I know orgs that have raised, just to give you context, in Ukraine right now, we've relocated, full relocations, 38,000 people. We've repaired 8 clinics, 9 schools, 14 apartment buildings, a few of them 400 units. We've repaired about 180 homes. I think it's a total of like almost 300 structures for over 20,000 people, clinics, patients, everything. We repaired an entire street called Moksana Street in partnership with Howard G. Buffett. We're currently delivering 300 full-size 18-wheeler truckloads to about 300 different frontline villages that are between 1 and 5 kilometers of the front line, from literally the top of Belarus all the way down to like Mykolaiv on a monthly basis. We've replaced about 14,000 windows. We've done all that with $37 million to date. That's how much we spent. I know orgs that have raised $300 million for Ukraine that I have never, ever, ever seen in Ukraine to this day. I have no idea. It's like, gotcha. It just went in a central pot. And it's very important to understand. That's why we're very stat oriented. You see our site, how many trucks have we loaded, how many trucks have we delivered, how many windows are we, dollar versus impact, right? What are you gonna get for your dollar? There's a reason why Howard Buffett, son of Warren Buffett, who is notorious for smart investing, is funding us to do a lot of things for them in Ukraine, is because we're going to accomplish a lot more for a lot less money.
Yeah, I think you're clearly unique in that realm. The other thing I remember you telling me when we first met is your ability to do last mile that a lot of others don't get to. Can you share about that?
Yeah, so a lot of groups, do handoffs, right? It's a handoff. They collect aid from one corporation, then they ship it over, and then they hand it off to some other organization and hope for the best. So we self-operate. We build teams. We create jobs, right? We have 100 people working for us in Ukraine. Every single one of them are Ukrainian. They were in suicide state when we met them. Now they're the most empowered people in the world doing something. They love their job more than anything. They're helping so many people. Yeah. I just got to Hawaii. If we go outside right now and you see all the people processing, they're all Hawaiians. They're currently from the hospitality, sector, either working for, sailing excursion company or Maui brewing company or whatever, and they need to work right now. So they're doing this. And you have to work in every country with the people of the country or the island or the county or the state, So in the Bahamas, our team was Bahamian. In Somalia and Sudan, the team is from Sudan. Yeah. In Ethiopia. And in Ukraine, it's Ukrainian. And in Hawaii, it's Hawaiian. And that's how you have the temperature on everything. So self-operating is the difference between like a fully operational general contractor in a way, right? That runs the whole show internally, or a construction manager that just collects the money and subs out all the work and makes a profit on top of it, right? So that's not what we are.
Yeah. No, it's tremendous. You're actually having them not only have some money in their pocket, but actually empowered to rebuild their home. And I think you know, what an amazing way of doing it, versus bringing in people that don't know what's going on there, and not supporting the people that are there. I mean, it's fantastic, and I think your name really tells that tale. How long do you expect?
We have a new program in Ukraine. It's called Farm to Frontline. We did it in partnership with Howard G. Buffett Foundation. We've actually put 100 farms in business right now. 100 small little farms. Some of these farms are operated by 2 people. And a whole bunch of different food factories are now taking the produce farm wheat and macaroni and different things that we have, and they package it. It's even branded Gem Humanitarian, not for resale. And then we pack it in that box, and then that box gets delivered, right? So it's all one system. Because there's barely any profit, the only money that's actually going anywhere is to the farmers and to the people working in the food factory, which are actually displaced people and IDPs and everything, right? So it's a micro economy in its own. But that box that we have, that you've seen, that we literally distribute 300,000 of those per month, that box cost us from the farm to the hand of somebody in Donetsk getting that box, costs us about $12 now a box. Different big organizations have the same box. I won't name them. Don't ask for $50 or $75 donation to donate a box like that to somebody, right?
Yeah.
We cut out all that waste. To be good at this, you have to think like an entrepreneur. You have to think like a startup. You have to think of, like, you know, you got your expenses, you got your line items, ding, 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 you got an event, there's like, you got to rent the sound system, you've got to, you know, pay the valet, you got to buy the booze, pay the bartenders, and now you got to work backwards, okay, and get that all donated, right? So you have barely any line items yet. That's how you get an event comped. And the same thing in a gigantic event like this, where you're going to rebuild 1,000 homes, right? Where are you going to get the free plywood? Where are you going to get the free brick? Where are you going to get the free builders, right? And you put it all together, and that's how you get things done efficiently.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So when you were a kid or a teenager, did you ever have any idea that you would be doing anything like this?
I'm sorry?
When you were a kid or a teenager, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, it's interesting. I think oh, great. I think God mysteriously puts all of us in training. And I think that my first job of order was to be in nightlife, right? And that creates a lot of ego and drugs and fun. And then what happened? I became, you know, a drug addict party guy. And then I crashed and burned. And I ended up homeless in the street. And you know what? That was a really good lesson, because that'll teach you to never do that again, ever. I've never touched a drug ever again since literally 1995. Then from there, you know, you get more grounded in life, and you start doing little bits of charity events and stuff, but you're still kind of in it. Then you want to shift, you want to become a builder. I thought I was going to become the, you know, Capponi construction company. I thought I was going to be one of the top 3 building companies in Florida. And then you have awakenings. You're not going to be the entertainment guy. You're not going to be the homeless guy. You're not going to be the drug addict guy. You're not going to be the big builder in Florida. You're going to take all those skills, and you're going to go build schools, rebuild people's homes, build clinics, right? Build hospitals. You're going to learn everything you did. And instead of promoting people and inviting them to go to nightlife in Miami, why don't you tell them to fund causes? And why don't you awaken them? And why don't you show them what's really happening in the world? And eventually, all your skills are wrapped in one. And once we get that in life, that's when it's called the flow state. That's when we become aligned with our true things.
Yeah.
So now, if I was out of alignment, I'm not out of alignment anymore, right? If I was out of alignment, that means that tonight I would go to a nightclub and get drunk and do stupid, right? Then I'd be in the middle grounds. But when you walk that path and that's all you do and live and breathe it, and you look at all your experiences, then no experience that we've ever gone through in life, ever, is anything but positive. The worst thing that's ever happened to me is those little drugs and streets and losses. It's also the best things. If you offered me $10 billion to erase that in my life trajectory, I'd say no thanks. That had to occur, right? Yin, yang, right? One compensates for what the other. It's all part of this mechanism. And I think the best thing I can end this with is there's a lot of people that know this kind of insight, but they don't really know, how to do it. And a lot of people have become so wealthy. I have so many friends, they don't even know what to do with their money and stuff. And sometimes you're put on this earth for a test, it's really a big test. And look at the Buffett family, for example. It's a perfect example. Look at their net worth. All that will be distributed other than like 1% in the next 10 years. That's truly coming onto this planet, doing what you did. And then imagine how much good all those funds are going to do around the world, right?
Yep.
That's a really good system. And I think if I could promote one thing in the world is that all major companies, and it's definitely America's leading this initiative by tenfold, right? You don't even have this happening in Europe yet. But all these major companies should really be following these biblical Torah 10% thing, right? Think about it. Think about if every company gave 10% of their earnings, of their profits, to global charities. Think about what the world would look like in a decade.
Well, we're trying to make that happen at Fifth Element. We'll talk about it more, but you're 100% right. It's that's what's meant to be. Hey, we're proud of you as a former Miamian. We're proud of you as to everything you're doing and a global citizen. And give everybody a hug over there for us, for sure. And we'll talk soon and make some more good stuff happen. So thanks for joining this series, and thanks for being who you are.
Thank you. Thank you.